What if I told you that in 2025 and 26, your rights as a trans person depend more on your passport than anything else about you? In one country, you can legally change your gender in a matter of weeks. In another, you can lose access to healthcare overnight. You can't legally exist at all, maybe in some. So, what does the world actually look like right now? There is no universal standard for trans rights. As you can see in this map, some countries allow legal self-identification, protect gender identity under anti-discrimination law, provide public healthcare coverage. Others, on the other hand, require surgery for legal recognition, restrict healthcare access, or define gender strictly by birth sex. If you look at the map right beside me, the divide is pretty clear. Some regions are expanding protections, others are tightening them. And here's what 2025 showed us. Progress isn't linear. Let's talk documents for a second. Legal gender recognition affects passports, job applications, housing, airport security, and everyday safety. Countries like Malta and Iceland consistently rank high in these regards. They allow legal gender changes and document changes without invasive requirements. But on the other hand, in 2025, we also saw major legal reinterpretations. In the United Kingdom, the Supreme Court ruled that women under the equality law refers to biological sex. That decision has a ripple effect for how gender identity interacts with anti-discrimination protection. Same region, different direction. Let's talk healthcare. Healthcare in 2025 became an absolute bloodbath. Why? Medical associations in many countries recognize gender-affirming care as evidence-based, but politically, it is very contested. In the United States alone, hundreds of bills targeted transgender healthcare and sports participation in 2025. Several states restricted youth access to gender-affirming care, and court challenges escalated to the Supreme Court. The US became one of the most legislatively active countries on trans issues, and it wasn't just about healthcare, it was about definition. It's important not to flatten the story because, while some countries narrowed protections in 2025, others continued strengthening them. Take Malta. Malta consistently ranks at near or top of the ILGA Europe rainbow map. And that's not symbolic, it's structural. Why? Well, because Malta allows legal gender recognition through a declaration process, no surgery requirements, gender identity explicitly protected under anti-discrimination laws in employment, housing, and services. Hate crime laws? Well, they include gender identity as well. Conversion practices banned across the board. Marriage equality and adoption rights are recognized. And that is layered protection, not just one policy. Then we look at Iceland. Iceland passed the Gender Autonomy Act, allowing legal gender changes without medical intervention. It also includes broad anti-discrimination protections, hate crime inclusions, and public healthcare access for gender-affirming care. And importantly, high levels of social acceptance. That combination matters. Why, you may ask? Well, because a strong legal framework plus social support create stability. So when we say some countries rank high, it's not about reputation, it's about measurable legal protections across the board. It's gender recognition, anti-discrimination laws, family rights, hate crime protections, and conversion therapy bans. But here's the issue. There's this key shift. While countries like Malta and Iceland strengthened frameworks over the last decade, 2025 showed that not every country is moving in that direction. The global picture isn't uniform or a constant. At the moment, it's diverging. Because in 2025, it wasn't just a year of individual laws, it was a year of directional shifts. In some countries, lawmakers moved towards self-ID models where gender recognition is based on personal declaration. In other courts and legislators, they emphasized biological definitions of sex. In legal language, that difference might sound really technical right now, but it really isn't. It shapes who qualifies for anti-discrimination protection, who can access gender-segregated spaces, how healthcare guidelines are written, how schools handle gender identity, how sports policies are structured. 2025 revealed something important to us. Governments aren't just debating policies anymore, they are debating frameworks. Some countries framed trans rights as continuation of civil rights expansion, similar to past movements for equality. Others framed them as regulatory or definitional issues, focusing on biological classifications and legal boundaries. And that philosophical split is now embedded in law in multiple regions. And here's what makes 2026 significant. Those frameworks, they don't just disappear in a year. They compound, they pile up, and they stack. Court rulings all of a sudden influence future cases. Legislations become precedents, and policy language becomes administrative guidance. So when we ask what did 2025 leave us with, the answer isn't just specific laws, it's a clearer global divide in how governments conceptualize gender itself. At the end of the day, it's easy to talk about rights in abstract terms, but policies and frameworks, they affect daily life. Legal gender recognition isn't symbolic. It affects whether your ID matches your representation, whether you face complications at airports, whether background checks flag inconsistencies, whether you risk being outed during a job application. Anti-discrimination protections matter because without them, employers can deny you jobs, landlords can kick you out of a house, and services can be just withheld. Same for medical stuff. Healthcare is the one that matters the most probably, because delayed care impacts mental health, restrictions affect adolescents during critical development periods, and inconsistencies or inconsistent access create long-term disparities. Research across multiple countries has shown that when trans individuals have access to affirming care and legal recognition rates, rates of distress decrease and stability improves. When protections are removed or stripped away and restricted, uncertainty increases. And uncertainty has consequences far beyond what most people would say, just don't be sad. There's also something broader happening here. When a country strengthens trans protections, it's often a signal of a wider commitment to minority rights and anti-discrimination norms. When protections narrow, it often reflects a broader political recalibration around identity, law, and social policies. So this isn't just about one community or like one niche part of living. It's about how society defines equality. In 2025, we saw that definition actively contested across multiple continents. That's why 2026 feels less like a next chapter and more like a continuation of global recalibration. So, what did 2025 leave us with? Not a clear victory, not a clear rollback, but also not a clear loss, but a world more divided than before. Some countries are doubling down on inclusion, others are narrowing legal definitions. And as 2026 begins, one thing is very certain, sadly. Where you live matters a lot more than anything else, because in 2026 for trans people around the world, your passport can shape your reality more than anything else. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Identity may be personal, but rights are still political, and politics is local. The global conversation around trans rights isn't settled, it isn't moving in a straight line, and it isn't happening in one place. It's happening everywhere and differently. So as 2026 unfolds, the question isn't just, are rights expanding or are rights shrinking? It's this, which direction is your country moving in? Because history shows that rights don't stay still, they evolve, they are challenged, and they've been defended. And they are shaped by the people paying the attention to it. And right now, the world is watching, but maybe in the wrong direction. I hope this wasn't like too politically loaded and too sad. I still hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Maybe this video interests you. Have a good one.